Christy, Sydney, John, his sister Colby, Christy, his cousin, Carolyn, family, friends, my brothers and sisters in law enforcement and fire. I feel very honored to be up here to say a few words about my friend, Chris Kilcullen. My name is Jennifer Bills, and I had the privilege to serve with Chris as an officer, to work with him as a negotiator, to have him as a member of the first patrol team I ever supervised, and to be his lieutenant most recently, while he served as a motor officer on our traffic enforcement unit. There are many amazing things about Chris, and I think you're hearing about him today. But I want to tell you about the Chris I knew. Chris Jiggs, as we sometimes called him, well, he cherished a good meal. There's his burrito. Christy told me he would stand at the kitchen counter right before a meal was served, rub his belly, and dance up and down, grinning. He was also fond of eating macaroni and cheese from out of a pan over the kitchen sink. But Chris was cheap when it came to food. For those of us who went to training with him, we would often be dragged to Costco or some cheap fast food joint so that he could save his per diem. In fact, he once convinced a van load of complete strangers to go to Costco to get hot dogs for $1.50. It was a game for me to try to get him to go to an actual restaurant. This week I learned it was a game for him to see how much money he could come home with. Chris was a negotiator for almost 10 years. He was amazing and had a knack for building rapport with even the angriest and drunkest individuals. Even if they couldn't see his face, his soothing voice expressed true sympathy and understanding, until he would hang up the phone and mouth the word asshole. Can I have a quarter, John? About the guy that he was talking to and who was yelling at him. But eventually Chris would wear the guy down, and he'd come out wanting to meet the nice negotiator who had been talking to him. Chris was just that good. Chris loved life, and he loved people. He was genuinely interested in what people had to say. He could talk to anyone. His personality was infectious. He made friends wherever he went. Dutch Brothers, Starbucks, Fast Lane Coffee, whatever was cheap. Jerry's, Home Depot, there's a theme here. He knew everyone and made everyone feel like they knew him. He was one of those connectors, a person who brings others together. Even today, he's working his magic. He's brought us all here. Chris's newfound passion was bicycling. He loved cycling, and he especially loved riding bikes with Christy. In fact, he had recently posted on his Facebook page about a Willamette Valley bike ride that he and Christy had signed up for. He, of course, invited everybody to go with and said there'd be free beer. The last time I talked to Chris was Thursday, the night before he was killed. He gave me his funny smile and said, "Lieutenant," fist bumping me as we passed in the hall. He then stopped and told me he was going to go for a bike ride on Friday after work. He invited me, and I think he invited a few others to go with. He said he was going to go ride with Mamacita, referring to Christy, and asked if I'd join them. I told him I'd be in Portland, but if I got home in time, I'd call. We joked about who would draft who, and then parted. Among the many things I miss right now is that I never had a chance to ride with him. But I know Chris will be the guardian angel, watching over Michelle, Carissa, Nate, Jessica, Julie, and Jen Curry when they do the law enforcement memorial bike ride back east next week. The ride is to honor officers who have fallen in the line of duty. If they have an easy day, they will know that Chris took a turn drafting them along the route. Chris's other passion was his family. He loved his wife, Christy, and his 2 daughters very, very much. He was a true family man. He would do anything for them. Chris took a leave of absence from being a negotiator to be more available to his wife and kids. He loved the work, but had had enough of being attached to a pager. How many of us here today say our families are priority, but still work late, take assignments that infringe upon the time we have with our families? How many of us would give up the work we love just to be around more? Chris, well, he walked his talk. He was a true family man. They, you guys, were his priority. For the community, we lost one of your finest officers. He was a native son of Eugene, and he loved this city, and he loved being a police officer. This was his calling. It was his calling to fight bullies and keep your community out of the hands of criminals. It was his passion to keep you safe and his frustration that some of you didn't value the work officers do and the risks they take to keep you safe. He sacrificed his life to fulfill his oath and responsibility as a police officer. Chris didn't have to make that last traffic stop on his way home Friday. He could have ignored it and kept going, but it was his job, and he gave it his all. For my fellow officers, we lost one of our finest. The consummate professional, the guy with a great laugh, the warm smile, and gusto to get the bad guy and write some tickets. In fact, write a lot of tickets. He really cared for all of us, and he let us know it. Our hearts are broken with his passing. He set the bar high for professionalism, and every day we are out there, we need to keep making him proud. He and Jerry are together now, newly sworn guardian angels, watching over us and keeping us safe. And the rest of heaven should look out too, because I'm pretty sure Chris still has his ticket book. For Chris's family, your loss is immeasurable, and we all grieve with you. Christy and Sydney, know that all of your police family is here for you, offering our shoulders to cry on, our love, our support, our strength, and our commitment to be there with you, now and into the future. You are not alone in this. For Katie, Chris's 4-year-old daughter who stepped out in her beautiful pink princess dress, these words are for her, and Christy, if you'd pass them on. You will never forget your daddy. We will be around to share these stories with you about how kind he was, how funny he was, what a great police officer he was. He loved you. He loves you and Sydney very much. Chris's legacy to all of us is public service, joy, laughter, kindness, and limitless love. Eugene police officers and employees, please stand. It's for all sworn and non-sworn. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a moment of silence. May John Christopher Kilcullen's name always be a blessing, and may it always keep us safe. Please be seated. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lance McDonald. I'm a friend, and I'm here to speak for Chris's wife, Christy, and their oldest daughter, Sydney, and they've given me the honor to share with you their thoughts and in their words. And I'm going to start with those thoughts from Christy, Chris's wife. I want to thank each and every one of you for honoring Chris and showing your support for our family. There are no words to describe the gratitude for the amazingly generous outpour of your love. Our hearts are broken, but know your prayers and actions warm our hearts. Christopher is a man of honor. By now, I'm sure you have heard dozens of stories about his honor, integrity, devotion to me and the girls, and law enforcement, and this community. It's all true. So my message is going to be a little different. I'm going to tell you what I think Chris would want to say to you. I have no doubt that he would want to comfort you even though he's the one that's gone. That's just the way he is. Chris would be angry at her. Honestly, he'd want her head on a platter. He would be throwing out a lot of F-bombs. He gets your rage. But that rage would last only a short time. He would then take that rageful energy and use it for good. He would go install new floors at his cousin's house. He would use the energy to walk 24 hours straight in full uniform at the Relay for Life. He would clean sharp crap at the Newport Aquarium. He would give you a hug, make a funny joke, and usually at his expense. My point is, please, do not let the rage consume your life and be destructive. Chris would hate that. Chris knew that your anger and rage destroyed your marriage or your jobs or your relationships. He would be so upset. So don't allow that to happen. It's okay to be mad, Lord knows I am, but do not allow it to eat you. To the community specifically, he would want to say a deep thank you for those that support their men and women in blue. You have no idea the huge impact you have on Chris's brothers and sisters in uniform. I recall one morning Chris and his motors team were having breakfast. When they went to pay, the clerk told them that a man had already paid the entire meal as a thank you. Chris was touched to the core by that simple yet heartfelt act. I hope that person is here today so I can personally tell you it made a huge difference in his life. Chris would also have a message for the other part of the community, the people who armchair quarterback their every move from the comfort of their living room, newsroom computer, or city council table. To the people who write completely ridiculous letters to the editor. You have no idea the damage you cause and the hurt you inflict on those who only care and want to protect you. My husband gave the ultimate sacrifice so you can sleep peacefully tonight. Our daughters will not have their father to teach them to fish, harass their future potential suitors, or walk them down the aisle. I will never get to touch or smell my husband again. Please realize that officers are human. Yes, sometimes they make mistakes, and sometimes there is a bad apple among them because they are human, just like you. But I can personally guarantee you that any and all of them would take a bullet to protect even their biggest adversary. Would you do that? Would you be willing to die on the side of the road knowing you would never make love to your wife again, or knowing you would never smell your baby's hair again? Many of you would choose not to. Chris did, and given the chance, he would do it again because he felt that strongly about it. Consider that next time you feel the urge to write a letter to the editor or comment on police tactics. Walk in their shoes. Walk in their family's shoes. Be me today here with you. To the boys and girls in blue, he would say, thank you for having his back and taking care of his family. To the negotiators on the scene, he would say, you did the right thing, even though we all know you wanted a different outcome. You are so strong. To the dispatchers, paramedics, records, thank you. To the woman who took his helmet and held his hand, thank you. It takes a village, and you people are the best village anyone could ask for. So one last Chris story from me. Chris had a special relationship with the transients. Some loved him, some hated him, but they all knew him well. Some even loved getting tickets from him so they could use the citation for toilet paper. I'm just reading this. There was a special man named Eldon. He's passed on. And old Eldon and Chris were buddies. One night, Chris was taking Eldon in for outstanding warrants. Eldon mentioned he was hungry, but he hadn't eaten anything because his teeth were rotten. So you know what Chris did? On the way to jail, Chris took Eldon to the Taco Bell drive-thru and bought him a couple of bean burritos. Old Eldon sat in the back of that police cruiser in hog heaven, happily gumming away on his tasty treats. That was Chris. Did he have to do that? No. Was anyone watching? No. Did he call the register guard down to do a piece on him? No. He did it because it made Eldon happy. You want to honor Chris? Make people happy. Do the right thing when it isn't easy. Work hard, treat your wife like she's the only woman in the world. Play dress-up and sing Barbie songs with your kids. And respect your cops. This is how you can honor my man. And now from his oldest daughter, this beautiful young lady here. Chris was the best bonus dad any kid could ever hope for. From taking us on countless camping trips to picking us up early from school so we could go to Papa's Pizza, he almost never got angry. And if you had a problem, he was the person to go to. Chris was the kind of guy who would walk 24 hours in a relay for life. He was the guy who would sleep on his kid's floor so she wouldn't be scared. He was the type who would stay up late to make sure the kitchen floor was finished. I guess I'm just trying to say that Chris was, well, the best bonus dad ever. You could search the entire world, but you could not find another person like Chris. And that, in a nutshell, is Chris. How he loved his job, how he loved to help people, and most importantly, how he loved his family. Thank you.